So I hear the term Wichita Falls in movies and television and songs, and it cracks me up because who would think this little tiny town has so much infamy? So stay tuned, we're going to talk about that in just 1 minute. So to a lot of people, Wichita Falls is still a fairly unknown Texas town. That is not true, and let me tell you a couple of reasons why. Number one, when I lived here previously in 1996, I would travel the world, and people would say, "Where do you live?" And I'd say, "Wichita Falls." Oh my gosh, everyone had a connection to Wichita Falls. Wichita Falls is like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you've ever played that game. Somebody knows somebody that's either lived here, had a family member here, someone stationed here, or lived nearby in Lawton, Oklahoma. I am telling you, Wichita Falls is more famous than what people give it credit for. But I also wanted to share that there's some absolute things about Wichita Falls that have shown up in media that you've never expected. It's been represented quite well, I might add, both directly and indirectly. As I said, I've been around the world and met people and talked about the town Wichita Falls, and guess what? They know somebody from here. It's a little interesting vortex, and I've said that many times. But in movies and television, looking into the history of Wichita Falls, it's really fascinating because there's so much history. Oh duh, history in Wichita Falls. That's all I ever talk about, right? I love the history of Wichita Falls. And this history in movies and television is not just a one-off reference to the city. Stars have been born in Wichita Falls. And even a show or two has taken place in our city right here in Wichita Falls or the outskirts. And so just for a moment, I want you to get your own popcorn, sit back, and I'm going to take a little journey of the spotlight shine on Wichita Falls. And if you know of some other things besides the ones that I'm talking about, please put them in the comments below because I could probably create a whole nother video. Yay! So let's start with The Last Picture Show. 1971, Sybil Shepherd. Oh my gosh, this is such an amazing movie. I believe it was nominated for an Academy Award. I didn't go into that much research about it. But anyways, it was filmed in Archer. And if you know anything about Archer County, there's a little tiny theater there that they used that this movie was set in the early 1950s. And it's a semi-autobiographical book and a film adapted about the life of the writer Larry McMurtry. Now, when I say Larry McMurtry, does that ring a bell for you? So Larry McMurtry is a longtime resident of Archer. His sister owned a title company there, but he also wrote Lonesome Dove. Now, Lonesome Dove wasn't filmed here, but Larry McMurtry is quite a famous resident of our area here. But did you know that Larry McMurtry also wrote Brokeback Mountain? So this is really interesting because he's really one of our more famous residents, but not the only one. So this makes our list, Brokeback Mountain, for a film that was partially filmed right here in Olney and parts of Wichita Falls, such as the pool scene in that movie. The movie was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, with Ben Johnson winning Best Supporting Actor and Cloris Leachman winning Best Supporting Actress. So we don't just do things small here in Wichita Falls, we do them big. So another movie, The War at Home, filmed in 1996, which is interesting because I lived here in 1996. I missed that completely. But Emilio Estevez directed and starred in this film about a Vietnam vet named Jeremy Collier who returns to his family in Wichita Falls. Can you imagine? So check that movie out because I personally have not watched it, but I'm looking forward to it because I just did a video on the Vietnam memorial that we have here. But anyway, so he's just returned from Vietnam and he's suffering from PTSD. And his real life father, Martin Sheen, played in there with his co-star Kathy Bates as his parents. And they found it very difficult to deal with Jeremy in this movie, culminating with tense standoffs between father and son at Thanksgiving. But you know what? The movie was made on a $3 million budget. That is an incredibly low amount of money for a movie that you could do here in Wichita Falls for that price. Unfortunately, there wasn't great advertising for that movie, and distribution led to the film failing at the box office. earning just under $45,000. So, bummer. But it still was a film made here with Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen. So I missed that one completely. I think it was probably right before I moved here in 1996. So another movie that was filmed here was Pillow Talk in 1959. So for those of you that remember that far back, what a great movie this was. The first of 3 films to star Doris Day and Rock Hudson. Oh my gosh. They are just classic Hollywood actors. And Pillow Talk was a controversial film, if you can imagine this, in 1959, with Rock Hudson's character taking on the persona of a homosexual. Well, if that's not reality meeting real, fantasy meeting real life. But anyway, so that's what the movie was about, to grow closer to Doris Day's Jan. So Rock Hudson played someone who was gay, to get close to Doris Day, Jan, who finishes the film saying, "They'll never believe this back in Wichita Falls." So the film wasn't actually filmed here, but it does have an honorable mention again for Wichita Falls. King of the Hill. Everyone knows King of the Hill, right? I don't watch those cartoon shows, but anyways. In season 3, episode 19, Hank's cowboy movie, they talk about in the 1990s, Wichita Falls was rejoiced in being the training camp, hello, for the beloved Dallas Cowboys. Did you know that we were the training camp for the Cowboys? We were. But one person who was not thrilled was Hank Hill in this little animated show, King of the Hill. Was not thrilled was Hank Hill in King of the Hill. In the 3rd season of King of the Hill, Hank takes his son Bobby on a trip to Wichita Falls to see the Cowboys and try to entice them to move their training camp back to their hometown, Arlen, Texas. I can't make this stuff up. Even making a promotional video about Arlen, which is so cute because Arlen's nothing really to write home about. But while in Wichita Falls, depicted as a fairly sparse town in The King of the Hill, Hank gets into a verbal battle with a Wichita Falls native about which town is better. Well, they didn't get in that with me because I would have won that argument. But the response to this was Hank is told that great part about living in Wichita Falls is how close it is to Oklahoma. Which is true. So check out that episode of King of the Hill. So there have been some wrestling shows that were filmed here, and we have a wrestling hall of fame here, and there's a great history of wrestling in our community as well. So I'm not much into wrestling, but there's a gentleman by the name of Skandor Akbar who retired from representing people in the wrestling world, and he represented people such as The Undertaker, Mike Foley, and of course I know Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's about the only one I know. I don't watch wrestling. But we have a wrestling hall of fame here, which is awesome because it's also been very helpful for people along that pathway. And then there's The Adventures of Superman Season 1. And when Superman made the jump from movie series to television, Wichita Falls-born Phyllis Coates was cast as Superman's love interest, Lois Lane. At the insistence of star George Reeves, this is going back a while, Coates was given equal billing with Reeves, even on episodes her character didn't appear in after. And so after filming that first season, production was halted while producers searched for a nation sponsor. By the time a sponsor was secured, Coates had committed to another project, and she was then replaced by Noelle Neal, who played Lane in the theatrical serials. Though she spent many years distancing herself from the world of Superman, Coates would return years later as Lois's mother in the first season of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. So it's a full circle thing, which I think is so incredible. I love all the Superman series. And then there is License to Kill. In 1989, much like Pillow Talk, this Wichita Falls reference comes down to a single line. After taking time off to attend the wedding of his friend Felix Leterre, James Bond resigns as a British agent after Felix attacked and his new wife is killed by drug lord Franz Sanchez, and Bond is forbidden to investigate. Teaming with CIA informant Pam Bouvier, Bond plays up the rogue agent role to infiltrate Sanchez's organization to bring him down. Boom! While Bond is in the inside of Sanchez's operation and in trouble, Bouvier attempts to rescue him by infiltrating Sanchez's business front. a religious institution led by Professor Joe Butcher, played by Wayne Newton, which is so funny. They were originally denied an audience with Professor Joe, so Bouvier reveals a bag of money and says she came all the way from Wichita Falls to deliver the donations her town collected. I mean, seriously, who knew all of this? So many references to Wichita Falls. I love it. I love it here. I love Wichita Falls, and it just has so much eclectic history to it. Then there's Doctor Who. So this was a series on television, and during the second season of the series, the Doctor and his companions find themselves in a spaceship with collections of fireplaces, each leading into a different point on the same woman's life. These shows, I've never watched some of them, but this one sounds hilarious. It might be a good one to have a glass of wine and watch it with your friends and laugh. So where does Wichita Falls come into play here? Well, check out Rose's shirt. In that episode, the Wichita Falls Tigers is the shirt she's wearing. Funny enough, there's never been a Wichita Falls Tigers team. At least not one popular enough to warrant a t-shirt. So, but who would have dreamt of that? The costume designer said, let's put a shirt with Wichita Falls and a fake team. That's hilarious. But seriously, if you know of other things besides the ones I'm sharing, because I think these are hilarious, but they're so obscure, and you may have a whole nother experience of shows or songs that mention Wichita Falls. So please put them in the comments below. There was a show on BBC, and it was called 3 Ways to Kill a Mook. It's 2012. Obviously didn't make a big splash. It's a short film that says Wichita Falls as you can get, being filmed in town with a local cast and crew, written by a Wichita Falls High School alumni, Nick Turnbow. Some of you may know Nick, and co-directed by Turnbow and Jesse Johnson from Burke. So 3 Ways to Kill a Mook uses Hollywood quality equipment and even had its premiere in Wichita Falls. Hello, we had a premiere. You can check out the coverage of the making and the release of that film in this little vignette here. So as I said, this is just the movie vignettes. There are songs about Wichita Falls. There are stories about Wichita Falls. There's a newspaper article that I shared on another video at one point. So if you can think of anything that we missed, please put it in the comments below. And if you love learning about Wichita Falls, please subscribe to our channel because I love sharing about this community. As I always say, y'all come back now, you hear?